So my family has a farm in Buckingham. I went out there a lot as kids. We get up in the winter early. The sun hadn't come up, and we go feed the cow. We put hay out for the cows and stuff. So it's unusual farm work before. Is it like at 5:30? So we had to get up early, and they gave me the choice. They said, "Do you want to go?" And I said, "Yeah, I do. I want to see what it's like." We really have never had oak board fencing. We've always used wire for cows or wire for horses. It's expensive, the stallion wire. But it's like 500 acres. When I was a little kid, I used to just wander around and I would go down into the creek and play by myself in the creek. Not real. It's taken me a long time to be a team player because my dad said when I was a little girl, he said there'd be a bunch of kids playing outside doing stuff and you would just cry. I would cry. He said, you just cry. So they put a pond in it, which has got a sandy beach, so you can get in and get wet. It's not big enough to water ski. The idea was my sister would be able to ice skate, but we never get cold enough winters. My neighbor Irene is in a 1700s. Some guy has an airfield. He's pretty wealthy. We don't see really any. The front of the house faces Charlottesville, so it gets all the north. It often has to be scraped and painted, and the porch has to be redone and stuff. It gets all the weather. It's all original. I mean, my sister put an addition on it, which I felt like I was in Alice in Wonderland. They moved the doors. They moved the bathroom. I didn't like it. I still don't like it. I don't like it. I would keep the laundry room well, they built on a laundry room. It is modernized now. It's got the downstairs has like a teenage, be a good workout, get elliptical and listen to music. Anything like that. John built a post and beam barn that's huge, be a good studio, music studio, things like that. It's got a lot of storage space. They keep a lot of stuff. And the apartment in the barn is reasonable. That kind of needs to be reworked a little bit. I don't know, their big horse stalls for bit is 12. It's a nice horse barn. It's got an office and stuff like that. We have a lot of old furniture stored there. My Aunt HV lives more towards the road. You can't see our house. That's the nice thing about Route 60 is you just don't even know it's there. You just drive by and you can't see it all. My cousin Irene, you can see hers. It's actually they named it Mount Rush after her farm, Mount Rush. It's got a big dining room where you can seat 12 or 14 people. I like the music room. It's got an old Victrola, and they redid the piano so that it would work. It used to have an old violin, but it's the natural color green and this guy. I don't like people that think Americans have all this money. I like people to think we're educated, but we're not really quite there yet. We don't get the respect for that. And that's the highest respect is your gnosis, your intellect. So it's got a gravel driveway. It always has. People get hay, like we farm out the field so people can get hay for their animals. But I would love to have a summer camp there and build houses for them and have little animals like a petting zoo kind of thing. Teach them horsemanship with a miniature horse where it's safe. My aunt's funny. She was enamored by horses her whole life, and they did not want me to turn out like her, so they wouldn't help me get horses. And she says horses are big, dumb animals that can hurt you. And this is a professional horsewoman that's made a living at this. I'd like to paint some maybe. And so I could set that up. It's really beautiful when it snows. Like Christmas at the farm is really sweet if it snows. Yeah, no, the construction that they did onto the house was time period. They did it the same way with the post and beam and stuff like that. So it's a very worthy. I thought about taking it off, but it's a done deal. It's there, and it's a nice modern gathering. It's got a fireplace in it, and so there you have it. Oh yeah, I'd have to have help. I couldn't do it by myself. I mean, I could. I just don't want to. If I can afford that, I can also afford help. I'd be willing to rent out the house as a bed and breakfast. It needs to be a National Historic Register house because you just don't see this anymore in construction. And it needs to have some touring and stuff like that of it so people can see it and experience it because everything's time period of 17, 1800s. We have the Poe bed. He used to sleep in it when he was a little boy. They moved it across the house. She thought that was a big deal, and then all of a sudden she knocks the whole house off and builds a $40,000 addition. But she doesn't like it. She goes to Charlottesville a lot. She doesn't like to be lonely, and her husband and her are not really compatible for hanging out a lot. There's nobody to hang out with. They do projects together. She'd be happier in Charlottesville. It's my home. I don't, Charlie O'Donovan went out there and he goes, it's just an old farmhouse. So there you have it. It's just an old farmhouse, but it's in dead center of Virginia. There's a plaque that says our farm is the dead center of Virginia. How about that, Ralph?